Guangfuk Hong Kong. Guangfuk Hong Kong. Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini. Friends, I am glad to join all of you, although I am also sad because it should not be necessary to have to gather like this. But since it is necessary, I'm glad to be with so many people to remember the terrible massacre that took place on this day 33 years ago in Tiananmen Square in Beijing and throughout many cities across China, to stand with everybody who is repressed by the Chinese Communist Party regime and to stand with the people of Ukraine. It's already been said, but I think it's worth repeating, that Vladimir Putin's war on the people of Ukraine is not a war between Russia and Ukraine. It is a war between dictatorship and democracy, between authoritarianism and freedom, and therefore it is a war for all of us. To my Hong Kong friends, I came today with my yellow umbrella because there was speculation there might be rain, so I thought I might need an umbrella. In fact, I don't, but I bring it as a symbol of my solidarity with you. But as we remember the massacre 33 years ago, when the Chinese Communist Party revealed to the world, not for the first time and not for the last time, but in a very significant way, its true character. It sent its tanks in against its people. It fired its guns against its own people. Peaceful protesters simply demanding democracy, and they were met with bullets and tanks. Nick mentioned the book that I'm working on, which will be published later this year, and that book focuses on the situation across China today. But I also, for the book, was able to interview several people who had been there in Tiananmen Square on the 4th of June 1989. People who participated, and people like a Canadian journalist, Jan Wong, who had witnessed the scenes. And they all told me of the bullets they saw, the bloodshed they witnessed, but also the inspiring image that we all remember of Tank Man. And I believe the people of Ukraine today are our modern day tank men. And the people of Hong Kong and the Uyghurs and Tibetans and people across China who are resisting the Chinese regime are the modern day tank men. As we think of China and Ukraine, let us also not forget other places in the world where the Chinese Communist Party and Putin's regime are responsible for terrible atrocities. I think particularly of the situation in Myanmar, and I know we have friends among us from Myanmar. I think also of the continued crimes against humanity in North Korea and many other places. And so that's why I'm so pleased that we are gathered here now, because we must all, those of us who believe in freedom, stand together. We must build a united front to fight the Chinese Communist Party's united front. This year, in particular, it is so important that we are remembering June 4th. Why is it so important this year? Well, for three reasons. Firstly, because as Nathan has already said, Hong Kong, which used to be the only place under Beijing's control where it was still possible to commemorate the Tiananmen massacre, now it is no longer possible. Victoria Park in Hong Kong, which used to be the site of so many candlelit vigils that I myself have attended, today is closed, and it is a criminal offense to go to Victoria Park in Hong Kong to protest. And so we stand here outside Downing Street, and after this I'll be going to Piccadilly Circus, and then after that to the CCP's embassy. I don't call it the Chinese embassy because it's not the embassy of the Chinese people, it's the embassy of their dictators. But in all these places, we stand there for Victoria Park in place of Victoria Park and for the people who, if they were able to, would be in Victoria Park today. And I want to salute the brave individuals in Hong Kong who even today still found ways creatively to express their voice and to commemorate this anniversary. I saw on social media an image of somebody who was on a train and he managed to find a carriage that said that number was 64, June 4th, and he posted it. And he just said, his comment was just, I'm on a train, having a normal day, going to visit a friend. But the message was clear. I saw other images, and we know there have been some arrests in Hong Kong today. So people have not given up, but they do not have the freedoms that they used to have. And that is why we must use our freedoms to do what we're doing today for them. The second reason it's so important is that across China today, slow motion Tiananmen Square massacres are still going on. Not necessarily with tanks or guns, but with slavery and torture and repressive laws and detention camps. The plight of the Uyghurs, the atrocities in Tibet. I shouldn't say the plight of the Uyghurs, the genocide of the Uyghurs and the atrocities in Tibet. And forced organ harvesting, and the worst persecution of Christians since the Cultural Revolution, and a total crackdown on lawyers and civil society and independent bloggers and media and whistleblowers. So we owe it to them to speak up today. And the third reason it's so important is that this is a regime that doesn't just threaten its own people, it threatens freedom itself, and it threatens our freedoms. I myself, in a small way, have had an experience of that. But far more seriously, it threatens exiled dissidents around the world. And so if we believe in freedom, we must stand up for freedom and continue to commemorate this anniversary. I close just with some final points. This weekend, we mark two very contrasting anniversaries, but two anniversaries that are similar in their longevity. Over the last few days, we've been celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And whatever your views on the monarchy as an institution, I think all of us would agree that the Queen herself resembles some very good values: public service, dignity, duty, compassion, love. And in contrast, the leaders in Beijing who have been in power for more than 70 years, they represent the exact opposite: an attack on life itself, a hatred of freedom, and a threat to human dignity for everyone. For as long as that regime is in place, let us learn from those good values that we've been celebrating over the last few days and do our duty for the peoples of China, for the people of Hong Kong, Tibet, East Turkestan, stand with Taiwan, speak up for Myanmar and North Korea, and stand with Ukraine. Let us, every single year on the 4th of June, do what we're doing today and throughout the year. Let us keep up the fight for freedom for as long as it is necessary. And I close with some words in Cantonese, but I think these words echo in spirit the equivalent words in Mandarin, Chinese, in Tibetan, in Uyghur language, and in Ukrainian. And I apologize to Ukrainian friends that I cannot say what I'm going to say in Ukrainian now, but the spirit is there. Guang Fuk Hong Kong! Guang Fuk Hong Kong! Guang Fuk Hong Kong! And I can say in Ukrainian, Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Fight for freedom! Gayao!
光復香港